Okay, what does it mean when a company re-rates or a stock re-rates? It's a really good jargon term. It's refers to a situation when a company's prospects are changing, generally for the positive, although re-rate can be a negative re-rate too. And this company's prospects are significantly improving, and it refers to the sort of the investment community's collective realization of that improvement, and as it's reflected in an improving stock price. And so it refers to a big move that a stock is making to reflect this improvement in prospects. Okay, and I'll give a couple examples. And one of the best examples that's basically happened in 2020 was with Amazon. So if you look back at a chart of Amazon over 2020, you can see that in the early days of COVID, Amazon collapsed just like all other stocks. It declined in value and it troughed around $1,800 a share in late March of 2020. But after that, there was sort of a re-rate that happened. Basically, people realized collectively, and it wasn't necessarily disclosed in news or put out there in like a quarterly results print from Amazon. It just is a collective realization that, holy cow, this COVID thing is going to sort of accelerate the long-term secular trend that helps Amazon of the movement of retail and other types of business from offline, from the real world, physical world, to online. And basically, Amazon's addressable market kind of went through this accelerated growth in a matter of months. And as you saw in the stock price exploded upward, and it went from $1,800 at the bottom to something like $3,400 a share in a matter of like 5 months. So that's a significant re-rate. And when you think in terms of how big a company Amazon is, I mean, it's one thing to take a $100 million market cap company and take it up to $200 million. That can happen with just a few large investors, a few whales buying in, right? But Amazon had a market value in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And now I think the market value of Amazon is something like 1.5 trillion with a T. And so that is a lot of market cap. That means that a lot of investors, a lot of people had to re-rate their thinking about this company and re-rate the value of the stock. So Amazon, excellent example of a re-rate. Another really good example of a re-rate, and it's kind of happening right now, and it's with cryptocurrency. So Bitcoin, in the past year and a half, Bitcoin has gone from something like $4,000 per coin to now $38,000 per coin. And why is that happening? Well, that's a re-rate, and it's not obvious exactly what's going on. Certainly there are many large companies and large investors, whales, that are getting involved in owning Bitcoin. Michael Saylor at MicroStrategy was kind of one of the first guys to take his company's entire balance sheet and put it into Bitcoin. We've got some insurance companies like MassMutual doing the same. And obviously there's more and more interest, like more and more people are talking about this. There's more and more concern about kind of government fiscal policy and monetary policy. And so this is the sort of the it investment right now, and it's being re-rated as we speak. So it's another example where there isn't really specific events. There's sort of a collage, like a mosaic of different types of things that are kind of leading people collectively to revalue upwards the value of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So those are two sort of textbook examples of re-rates. Okay, now the more important thing is, how do you handle a re-rate, or what do you do, right? Because there's sort of different scenarios. You can be already long Bitcoin and a re-rate happens while you're long. Okay, that's the best scenario. All you got to do is just sit on your hands and enjoy the ride, right? And if anything, the risk is don't sell too early. The sort of the worst situation is when you're not long an asset or not long a stock and it re-rates without you. And this is actually, it's okay if you're an individual investor because you can't catch everything, right? But when you're a Wall Street fund manager and your job is to outperform, your job is to do better than the stock market or do better than your peer group, you have to pay attention to where the re-rates are, because if you're not on, that's outperformance that those other guys are getting that you're not capturing. So you have to imagine the pain of a fund manager who doesn't own Amazon in March of 2020, feels pretty smart, feels pretty smug. But then in April or May or June, where Amazon is exploding upward and he's not long it, and yet he's got to buy in at a price that's significantly higher than it was just a few weeks ago, that guy is experiencing significant pain and he's got to make a decision, right? He's got to decide, okay, do I just hold my nose and buy this asset even though it's going up every single day? Am I missing this re-rate? And is this going to hurt my performance, right? And so then there happens to be kind of a chase of performance, and it's when people pile on because they're worried about missing out performance, and this can accelerate the re-rate. So you have to think about the perspective of a Wall Street fund manager or a hedge fund manager, and what happens when a re-rate happens on a stock that they're not in. And this can exacerbate the movement, okay? So think about these different perspectives, and I think when you're an individual investor and you're looking at a potential re-rate situation, you just have to be humble. You have to be epistemically humble and know that you're not going to know. And you've got to, let's say you really, really want to own Amazon while it's re-rating. You don't have to buy it, right? You can't catch everything. But if you do feel like you've got to buy some, just buy small, right? And I think with Bitcoin too, it's tough to make this sort of an argument with the same level of positive force for Bitcoin at 38,000 than you would have made at 4,000. But who knows what's going to happen? Bitcoin could go much, much higher. We don't know. And so if Bitcoin is something you want to own, I would nibble. I would not take big bites here. Just nibble, dollar cost average, and go slow. And, you can't catch everything. The whole point is you don't want to be putting a ton of money into something right before it collapses, which also can be an outcome of a re-rate, because sometimes re-rates can happen and they're not justified. And so, we'll see with Bitcoin, who knows. But you want to stay humble with these kinds of situations and just dole out a little bit of your capital here and there and dollar cost average into an asset if you feel like you really have to own it. So as always, I hope these videos help. The re-rate, this is sort of a useful phrase, a useful concept to kind of understand a rapid change of an asset's value in a relatively short period of time. So thanks as always for watching.